20 years ago today, January 24, 2006, my niece Jennifer Kesse left her condo in Orlando, Florida, and vanished. She was 24 years old. She had just bought her first home. She was building her career. She had her whole life ahead of her. And then she was gone. And this is what I've learned. Let me tell you a little bit about Jennifer. She is my sister Joyce's daughter, the kind of person who lit up a room, confident but kind, driven but compassionate. On that January morning, she got ready for work like any other day and likely left sometime around 7:30 in the morning. But when she didn't show up at work, her employer knew something wasn't right. They reached out to her parents because that wasn't Jen. If she was going to be late, she would call. Her car was found a mile away 2 days later, abandoned at another apartment complex. No sign of struggle at her condo, no note, no explanation. The surveillance footage captured a blurry figure walking away from her car at that apartment complex after carefully parking it and then sitting for some 30 seconds. To this day, that person has never been identified. The police investigated, the FBI got involved, our family searched, made flyers, held new conferences. We did everything we knew how to do, and nothing. The first few years were pure adrenaline and anguish. You don't accept that someone is just gone. You fight, you search, you believe. And you believe that if you work hard enough, push loud enough, something will break open. Every phone call could be the phone call. Every email could be the breakthrough. You live in constant vigilance, unable to grieve because you're still hoping, unable to hope because the silence is so heavy. I watched my sister Joyce and brother-in-law Drew carry a weight no parent should ever carry. I watched as the strain and stress wore on. I watched our whole family's resilience form around this absence. And I thought, surely this will resolve. Cases get solved. People are found. But it didn't resolve. And somewhere around year 5 or 6, the adrenaline faded. No longer news except on important dates. I was left with this low-grade grief that never went away, but never climaxed into anything that I could process. But I need to be honest about something. I had already been drifting from faith long before Jennifer disappeared. I walked away from church at 14, questions without answers. The to-do list was just too much, and it just didn't make any sense to me. And it wasn't that I was angry at God, I just wasn't paying attention. I thought I could handle life on my own terms. Jennifer's abduction ended that illusion. In my insufficiency, I rediscovered something I'd walked away from. Not religion, because I didn't miss religion. What I'd missed was a relationship with a God who hadn't moved, even when I had. Coming back wasn't about adopting a belief system. It was about receiving from a person Christ's presence, his peace, not as concepts, but as lived reality in my darkest moments. So, what have I actually learned in 20 years? Well, first, transformation doesn't require resolution. We've been taught that healing means closing chapters, finding answers, moving on. But growth can happen through unresolved problems, not just after them. I kind of call this perpetual transformation, the idea that you don't have to wait for closure because you let yourself be changed. It's an ongoing process. Second, peace doesn't depend on circumstances. The world offers conditional peace. Solve the problem, then you'll be okay. But there's another kind of peace, the kind that isn't contingent on resolution. I've experienced that peace, not because Jennifer came home, but because I stopped trying to generate what only God could give. And then third, honesty is more helpful than polish. While writing my book, one of my editors asked, does your wife know what you're writing? Because this is really raw. You're being very vulnerable about your marriage and other things in your life. And of course, I said my wife's response was telling it any other way would have been a lie. We're not living Facebook lives. The truth is, people need more truth. And she was right. So where are we now? Well, Jennifer's still missing. That hasn't changed. But recently, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement announced that the case is no longer cold. New DNA evidence is being processed. There's an active movement for the first time in years. I don't know what that will yield. I've learned not to hang my hope on outcomes that I can't control. My sister Joyce and my brother-in-law Drew are still fighting, still advocating, still believing. And I wrote a book about what these many years have taught me. Not because I've arrived somewhere, but because I think I've learned some things that might help other people who are living with their own unresolved grief. That tension is sometimes unbearable. If you're watching this and you're carrying something that won't resolve, a loss, an illness, a broken relationship, a question that refuses to answer itself, I want you to hear this. You're not failing. You're not doing it wrong. You may be exactly where transformation happens. Stop waiting for closure before you let yourself grow. Stop performing wellness for an audience that expects Facebook Lives. There's a source outside of yourself and myself who has more than enough, who sees what you can't, who offers peace that doesn't depend on your circumstances changing. That's what I found. And that's what 20 years has taught me. So Jennifer, wherever you are, we haven't forgotten. We never will. And to everyone else, thank you for remembering her with us. And if this resonated with you, my book is available at billgilmore.com. And I hope you'll consider it, not to fix yourself, but to receive what's being offered. That's all I have. That's 20 years. And thank you for listening.